Good morning to you. I'm Lewis Turner. We're here in Tallahassee. We are getting ready for Hurricane Michael. Now a Category 4 if you're just waking up. 145-mile-an-hour winds just offshore. In fact, we're just starting to get a little bit of drizzle. We've had a couple of rain bands come through in the state capitol. Nothing to even write a note about just yet is what is to come here and what is to come along the panhandle as well. Our team is spread all the way some 3 hours away to the west in Navarre Beach and up into southeast Georgia as well in Waycross, where there will be effects there felt a little later as well, with the potential for some severe weather outbreaks and even tornadoes, which we must talk about. This is a very serious storm. This is one you need to call your loved ones if they are along the beaches at least. We just heard from the mayor who says here in Tallahassee, if you know people who are here, they need to stay. Now is the time to stay. Along the beaches, that's a different story. I would beg, borrow, steal, and say a prayer for your friends to get the heck away from the beaches, because the Panhandle has never had a hurricane like this before. All right, let's start our team coverage now. Let us get to Christy Etheridge, who is now at Panama City Beach.
The surf is already creeping closer here in Panama City Beach as Hurricane Michael is intensifying into a powerful Category 4 storm. It's been a long time since the Panhandle has seen a storm like this, and it should make landfall by lunchtime today. A mandatory evacuation is in effect, but some people are not heeding that warning, and that gap to get out of Panama City Beach is narrowly closing. The bridges will close at some point, and conditions will continue to deteriorate as we get closer to first light. Christy Etheridge, First Coast News, on your side.
Yeah, first light is approaching. That gap is closing. It's not too late, though, if you're along the beaches. Call your friends. Meanwhile, to think about the hurricanes that have been to Tallahassee, you've had Hermine in recent memory, 2016. Irma is going to be burned in our heads in Jacksonville forever and ever, but they dealt with that here as well. A lot of tree damage, a lot of power outages to deal with. It's going to be more than that, unlike anything they've ever dealt with here. Now, southeast Georgia, going to be dealt a different blow. A wind event there for sure, and certainly some spin-ups of tornadoes possible. Let's check in with Lana Harris, who is in Waycross this morning.
Good morning, I'm Lana Harris. I'm in Waycross, Georgia, pretty much in the city center, and the entirety of southeast Georgia is really bracing for a rough couple of days ahead. We've talked to people earlier and yesterday who say they're anxious, really just waiting to see what exact weather effects we'll see here. Now, we know this is primarily going to be a wind event, so that's the possibility of downed trees, possibility of tornadoes, flying debris, power outages that could be widespread, could be long lasting. And even when you think about a place like this, we've got these big trees, it's kind of in the middle of things that could have a long way to fall. This isn't even half the size of the trees that are kind of lining the roads in some parts of this area. We've seen gas stations, some have open pumps, some are covered, some are wrapped up like saran wrap, so they're sure they won't go anywhere. Now, all of southeast Georgia is included in the tropical storm warning. 92 counties in total are under a state of emergency in Georgia. Now, our weather team says that we'll start seeing the impact here around 4 p.m. today, but that it will really be ramping up in the late hours of tonight. And we've got emergency managers here in Ware County that will be stationed at their operations center around the clock and are warning everyone to have a plan. We've got teams here in Ware County will be here throughout the storm. We've also got multiple teams in Florida. That includes our Lindsay Boat. She's in Navarre. Lindsay, what can you tell us this morning?
Going to get to Lindsay here in just a moment in Navarre Beach right now, where things are starting to ramp up just a little bit as the storm comes ashore. Think about the Sewanee River Valley and the towns surrounding it, Live Oak, Lake City, all fed out of the Okefenokee Swamp. As the swamp fills, and it will as this hurricane moves through southeast Georgia, not only the rains and the surge that fills in the river from the Gulf of Mexico, there's going to be rain and waters coming out of the Okefenokee Swamp. That's going to lead to an inundation and certainly the potential for some major flooding there in Lake City, and that is where we find our Eric Alvarez this morning, continuing our team coverage. Eric, what's going on there in preparation for the flooding?
Yeah, good morning, Lewis. I'm here at the Department of Public Works, where right now the Office of Emergency Management is getting ready to hand sandbags out to families who live here in the area. If you look just a little bit to the left, we already have some cars that are already arriving here. So if you live in Columbia County, if you live in Lake City, this is happening at 7 a.m. at 607 Northwest Quinton Street. There is a limit of 15 bags per vehicle. Now, why is all of this important? The Office of Emergency Management is expecting about 2.5 inches of rain, as well as sustained winds of 30 to 40 miles an hour and wind gusts of up to 50 miles an hour. Because of that, The department says this area is at a higher risk for tornadic activity. Now, in the event, heaven forbid, that any of the families here are forced out of their homes, there are 3 shelters that are already open to take you in. Those are the South Columbia Fort White Community Center on State Road 47, the Westside Community Center on Burley Avenue, and the Winfield Community Center on Winfield Street. Now, I know I just went through a lot of information. If you missed any of that and want to know exactly all of that information, you can find it on our website, firstcoastnews.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at FCNEric, while I will be posting updates from the area throughout the day. For now, I am live in Columbia County. Eric Alvarez, First Coast News, on your side.
An extremely busy next 12 hours. Eric Alvarez, thank you so much. And of course, monitoring the recovery afterwards as well. Let's go about 3 hours to my west now, still in the state of Florida. Navarre Beach, about 160 miles west of Tallahassee. That is where we find Lindsay Boach live this morning. Continuing team coverage. Lindsay?
Hey. Yeah, good morning, Lewis. And about 45 minutes ago, we had that lull in the rain. The rain has started to pick back up, and so has the wind. Take a look at this sign right here. This is kind of on that sound. And then we have Navarre Beach, that is where we actually are right now. We talked to some people yesterday who are actually staying in one of those high-rise condos, and they've been here all week. They said that they had a great vacation, a week-long vacation. They were supposed to leave today, but they decided to pack up early and get out of here yesterday.
When you watch that hurricane come like it's coming, and then it's just supposed to turn right. Yeah, and I've got kids to think about, so I've got to go.
So between Pensacola and Destin, and we're starting to see, we're not going to see the worst of the storm, but we are starting to see some of those initial rain bands coming through. Something that we'll keep an eye on here, though, there is a bridge that goes to the mainland, and a lot of folks who are on Navarre Beach are kind of concerned about that. If the power goes out, the bridge is closed, what are we going to do? So that's something that we'll be watching as we head through the next few days or so. Let's go inside to meteorologist, storm expert Mike Prangley. He's got a closer look at Hurricane Michael.
Thank you, Lindsay. Yeah, from Navarre Beach to here at home, big impacts across much of the state of Florida, making a landfall as a major Category 4 late afternoon. Thoughts and prayers for those in the Panhandle. Here at home, what does it mean for our Florida counties? Well, in Duval, we're watching carefully, along with Bradford, Clay, St. Johns County. And notice our first round of severe weather between 4 and 8 o'clock this afternoon. So have those apps handy. It's one of those days where these storms will hit fast and furious. We'll get a little bit of a break this evening. Second round between 2 a.m. and 8 a.m. And there could be some isolated tornadoes. Notice the winds picking up to 25 to 45 miles per hour. As we go a little farther west, yeah, the higher the wind speeds, a little closer to that track in the core of Michael. And notice, check those supplies this morning. Run those errands if you're out in Lake City, Lake Butler, McClinney. I think we're okay till 1 o'clock, but between 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock, our first round of power outages, and then the highest risk of tornadoes, 8 o'clock this evening through 3 a.m. tomorrow. So we've actually moved up the timing of that severe weather. Could come a little earlier, and notice those wind gusts between 40 and 60 miles per hour. Now, as we look to the South Palatka, Palm Coast, you'll have a fewer gusts of wind, but still some gusty showers and maybe some isolated severe weather by 3 o'clock this afternoon. Let's take a look at our Georgia counties now with Lauren Routenkranz. Lauren?
Alrighty, Mike, I think we do have Nassau next actually on that one, but we do want to take a really quick look at the waves that are rolling into Destin. I believe this live cam is. It's really tough to see, but again, it just shows the story that the waves and the sea and the ocean are very rough at this point. Camden and Nassau County, nice to start, but again, we continue to tweak the timing of all of these. 3 o'clock, you're going to want to kind of keep that in the back of your mind this afternoon for the first round of severe weather. Highest risk of tornadoes as well will linger into the overnight hours. And how about Glenn, Brantley, Charlton counties? By about 2 o'clock this afternoon, first round of severe weather. Highest risk of tornadoes is going to come about after 10 o'clock this evening. And then when we head towards Clinch, Ware, and Pierce counties, we are on high alert for you guys. Not only are you going to see the strongest wind gusts, but your highest risk of tornadoes is going to start a little earlier, 9 o'clock this evening. Katie.
We're in the VyStar Credit Union Traffic Center, so we do have a lot going on the traffic front as well. So I-10 eastbound, you can see it is definitely starting to pick up a bit here. You've got your morning congestion, and you also might see some evacuees that are trying to leave the Tallahassee area now that it's a Category 4 and trying to make their way towards Jacksonville for some safety. So don't be surprised if I-10 eastbound is a little bit heavier than you normally would see. So do look out for that. Also, if you are in Brunswick, Sidney Lanier, that is set to close at 6 p.m. tonight, and there's no reopen time that is set for that bridge at this point, and that's because they are under a tropical storm warning. So of course you want to be very careful driving on those roadways later on overnight tonight. I-95 and Park Street, looks like that on-ramp from Park Street to 95. You could see an on-ramp there blocked by a crash as well. But overnight tonight, that's when I think we're going to start to see some really rough conditions on the roadways, heavy winds, heavy rains. So please do use caution later tonight.
Now remember, for the latest, be sure to download our First Coast News app from the Apple or Android store. It's simple and really easy to use. Here's how you can receive up-to-the-minute alerts. At the top left-hand corner of your screen, there is a settings button. Now, if you click on the button, it'll take you to this page. You can customize your alerts, and you want to make sure your weather alerts are marked on. Now, when you click on the Weather Alerts tab, make sure your location is marked. For example, if you happen to be a Jacksonville resident or maybe an Orange Park resident, be sure the location is marked. Now, if you don't see your location, it's easy to add one. You can search your city or your zip code, and it will automatically turn those alerts on for your area. And we'll alert you when there's an important update in your city. Now, don't forget, on the Home tab, you can scroll to the bottom for the latest track of the storm on our Hurricane Central tab. As always, we would love for you to share your weather pictures and videos as long as you take them safely using the hashtag FCNStorm. Guys.
All right, thanks very much, Brooks. And one more look.
All right, so we are watching the worst of the weather late this afternoon and overnight tonight. So we've actually looking at that timing carefully. Could include some of those isolated tornadoes and power outages. So this morning it's fine running those errands, but a much different story as we head into late today and tonight.
And of course, out there on the traffic front, it's okay to start right now, but later on overnight tonight, we could see some rough conditions. And Sidney Lanier in Brunswick, that is set to close at 6 p.m.
All right, we're going to be with you throughout the day when it comes to this storm. Don't worry about it right here in Good Morning Jacksonville.
Be safe.